Let me tell you something, brother. You might not have anything in your empty mind, but you got something in your eyes, and it's fear. Because when these 8 inches of muscle thunder and the dead president tears roll out for war, there will be no stopping us.
You heard that, listeners. You're listening to the Dead Presidents Podcast, and this is Presidential War.
Presidential war. What is it good for? Intellectual stimulation. Say it again now. Presidential war. What is it good for? Best game in the nation. Presidential war.
Welcome to another exciting edition of Presidential War. I'm James J. Hamilton.
And I'm Stephen Lincoln Douglas.
This episode, we are experimenting with a slight variation of the rules of war. We've each drawn the top 5 cards off our decks to form a 5-card hand. When we flip the first category, we'll get to choose which president we play for that category, and then we'll have to play out the rest of our 5 cards before we get a new hand.
That's right.
We'll see how this works out as we dive in on our first category, which is pre-presidential accomplishments. I think I've got for that category, I'm going to play Ulysses S. Grant.
I'm going to play Richard Nixon. Well, Nixon, of course, long time in politics. 8 years under Eisenhower as the vice president, involved in the communist trials going on. The Alger Hiss case made Nixon a national name, if not an international name.
Yep,
not too awful bad, but I don't know that it holds a candle to old U.S. Grant.
Yep, U.S. Grant, Mexican-American War, then resigned from the Army for drunkenness, but then upon outbreak of the Civil War, became a general, served himself in good stead on the Western Theater, captured Vicksburg, then named an overall command, went head-to-head with General Lee.
Came out on top.
Yep.
Yep, I think this is going to Grant.
Yep.
And I suspect that I've wasted my Nixon card, to be honest.
See. Well, now there's post-presidential accomplishments.
I immediately know where to go here.
I'm going to go Andrew Johnson.
I'm going to go with Jimmy Carter.
Wow.
Jimmy Carter, I think, among the best pre-presidencies in American history. Lengthy and filled with great deeds.
Yeah, post-presidential is definitely his strongest category.
Yeah, we've talked about his work with Habitat for Humanity and the fact that he's still, maybe not so much now, but he was getting out there.
Yeah.
And, at this time, Jimmy Carter still hanging in there. Bless his heart. We wish him and Rosalind all the best.
Yep. Andy Johnson.
I think. Yeah.
Andy Johnson, the only former president to be in the Senate.
That's right.
Although he did lose a couple House elections as a post-president.
That's right, but he considered his election to the Senate a personal vindication.
Yep. So that was something in terms of a high office gained.
Well, for like a lower-ranked president, generally,
yep.
Not many of them find vindication. Johnson,
that's true,
felt vindicated at the end.
Yeah.
Buchanan wouldn't get that.
No. Well, we'll give that hand to Jimmy Carter. Moving on to relationship with the people. Well, I'm I'm gonna go with George Washington here.
I had chosen Bill Clinton.
Well, Bill Clinton, not
Relatively popular guy.
yeah, remained pretty popular with the people even after
The scandal didn't
Monica
bother
Lewinsky.
anybody. Most people were like, so he got a blowjob. So what?
Yeah. Yeah, really.
I mean, we know that all court cases are decided by a series of blowjobs.
Well,
You think
he's a pretty good lawyer too.
Yeah. I mean, do you think that medicine and surgery is actually going to make you better? Come on.
It might be a confusing reference for some listeners, but other listeners will
Not our savvy
will
ones.
know exactly what
The
we're
dead
talking
president tears will know exactly what we're talking about.
about. Well, I don't think Bill Clinton can hold up to George Washington's relationship with the people.
Either. I mean, Washington definitely had a bit of turbulence as president, but
Yeah, I mean, his second term,
he came out of it well.
Yeah, even then, people were, they were burning John Jay in effigy, not
That's right.
Washington.
Yeah.
And people who weren't thrilled with some of the things he was doing later in his term were like blaming it on his advisors and not him, because he was pretty untouchable from the people's perspective.
Right. And from said perspective, Washington's relationship hasn't soured.
No.
Clinton, there's people that loathe not just Bill, but the Clintons.
Yeah.
I think this has to go to G-Dub.
Yeah. He's going to win that one.
Indeed.
Next category, relationship with the media. We're down to our last two cards in our first hand.
Yeah, this is so difficult. My goodness.
Becomes slimmer pickings. And I don't have, my picking is not slim because it's Big Grover Cleveland. Second term.
Second term Cleveland. I've chosen Lincoln.
Well.
Which is really, you got to look at when we're thinking. I think Lincoln always had a little bit of a better. I mean, there was obviously some serious detractors out there.
Yeah,
but
yeah, he had
for the most parts.
Yeah, he had to balance a lot of things because there were like radical Republicans and conservative Republicans. There were peace Democrats, war Democrats. He had to hold like, the slave border states of like Kentucky, Maryland. He has to, follow a path that will keep them in the Union and also satisfy like the most radical abolitionists of, New England.
Yeah.
But yeah, and there were low points for him, but he had a pretty masterful like use of the media.
He did.
In terms of getting, important statements out there at key times.
In Cleveland, I think you're going to find is second term more so probably about general, pretty much standard. I think there was great excitement initially because it's like, hey, they're back. Mm-hmm. The Clevelands are back. The media loved Francis.
Yeah.
And they were a popular couple.
Was it his first or second term that he had his secret mouth surgery?
Second.
Yeah. Kept that secret from the media.
Yeah. Yeah. Which is actually pretty wild to think.
Mm-hmm.
He was able to do that because he, it might not have been successful.
Yeah.
You're going to hear all about that when we touch on Grover Cleveland and his respective episodes. So, mark your calendars for episode 24 of the Dead Presidents podcast.
Yeah. Well, I think we got to go with Lincoln here. Even though there were, like, rocky times and he got...
I'm going to agree because I think he controlled it better.
Yeah. I mean, he was ripped, like, pretty hard by different factions at different times, but, like, by the end, he had pretty much, like, he won.
Yeah.
And he had triumphed over all the different factions and was clearly the man.
That's
at the
right.
end.
And, you know, after his death, you know, just the skyrocket
Yeah.
of, you know, he's a martyred leader.
And here in the 5th category, we're forced to play the last card we have. I've got Lyndon Johnson.
Oh no, the category is who would you pick first in flag football? This unfortunate individual making a return to this category,
James Buchanan.
James Buchanan. Yeah, gonna be among the last chosen, him and Polk, as we've discussed before.
Well,
Yeah, LBJ.
these guys two big dudes.
But LBJ's the bigger dude, and he's the more fit dude. Buchanan's big, but he's got a paunch. He's got an eye condition, nearsighted in one eye, farsighted in the other. He's got some problems. LBJ,
Yeah.
solid Texan.
Yeah, LBJ 6'3", 210 pounds. Health generally sound. Let's see.
They're both smokers,
Under feet, yeah.
both drinkers.
LBJ a golfer. Not seeing a lot else in terms of physical recreation, but
Nah, I still think he could lay the smack down on 10-cent Jimmy.
yeah,
Yeah,
Probably
there's no
be-
question about this one. This is an LBJ hand.
probably be a couple of the offensive and defensive linemen in a game of presidential flag football.
Yeah.
You go with LBJ
Yeah,
there.
Johnson's one of the taller presidents. I mean, he's a big dude.
Mm-hmm.
No,
Guess we get to draw another 5-card hand for our next category. Best president overall. Well, I'm gonna play the best of my 5 presidents. At least
Same.
I think. I got Harry Truman.
I got first term Cleveland.
Oh,
This is a great match. Great
Yeah.
match, but I think the operative word is overall, so I have to factor in second term Cleveland, which is not as strong. I feel that Harry Truman was a stronger president overall. in
yeah,
this
I'd
case.
agree.
I think Truman really stepped up to the plate, coming in blind when Roosevelt died. And I think that he made the right choices.
Yeah.
He made he made what he thought were the best choices he could make, and I think they turned out to be the right ones.
Yeah, a lot of big decisions ending the war and then, setting up the post-war era.
Yeah, and I mean you had a little bit of issue there, and when he was elected in his own right,
Barely got back in.
but yeah, but I think overall he did a pretty good job. I would rank Truman a little bit higher.
Yeah, he's pretty strong.
Cleveland, I think is great, but
Yeah, I think Truman is. I think he's been getting in the top 10 in rankings.
in
And
recent years, yeah, he's moving up. Cleveland, I think, has been moving a little bit more down in retrospect.
yeah,
But yeah, I think this is going to go to Harry Truman. Cleveland, obviously, reestablishing presidential power in a period where it had become kind of stagnant and more congressionally leading. So we give him credit for that. He wields the veto like a battle axe out there, stopping crap that he thinks is bad.
yeah.
And, first term Cleveland, pretty solid president. And I think if he had actually gotten reelected and served like the 4 years that Harrison got, Cleveland would probably be considered among the greatest presidents.
Yeah,
I mean,
Probably be
when
higher,
you say
yeah.
the greatest, I think, you got to think like top 10. Cleveland would be in there, but with that lapse in the second term not being as strong, I think Truman gets this one.
Yeah, not as good economic times during the second term.
Correct.
But we'll go with Truman there, and then moving on to the next category, we've got effect on the office of the presidency. I'm going John Tyler.
I'm going John Adams.
Oh.
I think John Adams had some big shoes to fill when he stepped in there, and I think his actions definitely affected the way that the presidency was seen.
Yeah.
After 8 years of Washington, any change is going to be different, and Adams was not Washington.
Yeah,
Maybe that's his biggest, misfortune.
I mean, that was his biggest challenge, but also, in terms of effect on the office of the presidency, John Adams proved that, like, a mere mortal could be president and
That's right.
and still hold things together.
And he did some stuff that was questionable, but his predecessors would do things that were questionable as well.
He kind of
going on.
Yeah, Adams, I'd say he established the precedent of the president's authority to fire cabinet members.
Yeah,
because nobody was gonna make George Washington do that. He is a president who had a cabinet who, wasn't too thrilled with him, and he stood up to his own cabinet when he had to, and
But Tyler, you do have the Tyler precedent, which is pretty significant.
Yeah,
he asserts himself, and in that classic showdown, I am the president. When you think otherwise, your resignations will be accepted.
Yeah, the precedent of the vice president becoming full-blown president upon the death of the former president.
If Tyler didn't have the cojones, who knows? Would it would have been a weird, I guess, vice president acting president?
That's what they
evolved from.
That's what they tried to call him. Yeah, it would at least make presidents who took office under those circumstances would be inherently weaker. It would set a precedent of weakness, and Tyler wasn't having that. He used the veto a lot as well, more than any other president, even Jackson at that time. So that was pretty important too.
This is a good contest.
Yeah, two strong presidents here. Indeed.
I think just in long-term effect, it has to go John Tyler, doesn't it? It's hard to say, but I just think that precedent was and has become a pretty integral.
Yeah, it was pretty huge because all the vice presidents who took over up until Ford did so under, without the constitutional amendment that stated it explicitly.
That's right.
So, I guess we could have Tyler win, because John Adams was pretty big in this category as well, but gotta give Tyler partial credit for even, look at all that Teddy Roosevelt did. If he'd come in there under some weakness precedent, he might not have been able to be the Teddy Roosevelt we know.
Yeah, that's a good way to look about
it. It's a good showdown in this category.
Indeed. Great matchup.
We'll give it to John Tyler. Next category, we're going least scandals. Well, I guess I'm going to go Dwight Eisenhower.
I'm going to go James Monroe.
Well, this category is probably more exciting when you get someone with lots of scandals in it.
Indeed.
But when we get to choose between somebody both, pretty boring in terms of, like, personal scandals.
Yeah, there's not really much going on. I wouldn't even call it a scandal, but a news scare was President Eisenhower's heart attack.
Yeah.
But, not really a scandal.
Yeah,
It's not
James,
like,
yeah.
Nixon put something in his drink to make him have a heart attack.
No. Yeah, and Monroe running for re-election unopposed.
Yeah.
Couldn't have had too much scandalous things going on.
Yeah. Yeah, this is, I'm thinking this is a tie scenario.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
So we're going to see what happens here.
It'll all come down to the next category, which is relationship with the Constitution.
Boy, this is tough.
I'm going to have to go with Millard Fillmore here.
This is going to be interesting because I chose Zachary Taylor.
Wow.
So you have kind of two different interpretations of the Constitution. Fillmore, surely the more learned, but Taylor, his interpretation of it,
Yeah.
it's kind of badass.
Yeah, it's pretty interesting because probably the main constitutional question that they both dealt with was, is the Fugitive Slave Act constitutional?
That's right.
And Taylor was more on the side of no.
No.
And Fillmore signed it, relying on the advice of his attorney general.
That's
who
right.
Probably gave him the answer that the South wanted to hear.
That's
And
right.
Jackson, or Taylor wasn't about to do that. Mm-hmm. A telling Freudian slip that I said Jackson instead of Taylor.
Well, but, I mean, Fillmore, as a northern politician, is working to try and appease the South. Taylor, as a southerner, just kind of has their backing, and he's a war hero. Mm-hmm. And then he kind of does this 180. But,
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah, I think his view of the presidency in the nonpartisan George Washington sense,
is
and then
pretty solid.
as the president as the commander-in-chief who might take command of the army himself
That's
against
And
traitors.
personally lead the army into battle against anybody that would threaten secession. I mean, I think Zachary Taylor is a big missed opportunity in that regard.
Mm-hmm.
I think he was the one that could have prevented civil war. Because I think he would have gone in there and fucked shit up and nobody would have wanted to escalate.
Yeah.
I think that would have been the end of it. Yeah, I think he could have been reelected and probably been a pretty great president.
Yeah.
Considering his background, you know.
Well,
But
instead,
Fillmore, of course, by far the more learned. I mean, Fillmore had poured through law books and, ingested all of that. The guy knew his shit, but I don't know if, he's a guy guided by logic and reasoning and not emotion.
yeah.
But
I mean,
I don't see
focusing-
that working in his favor in this case.
Yeah. Focusing a little bit too much on the fugitive slave clause of the Constitution to the exclusion of the due process and habeas corpus clauses.
Right.
Probably give it to Zachary Taylor in
That's
this
what
category.
I was leaning towards. And a big win
Yep.
for myself here.
Taking the tie-breaking hand.
Now we're down to the last of this series of 5.
And I'm glad I saved this card. The category is looks. I've got John F. Kennedy.
I've got Rutherford B. Hayes. There's a handsome man there.
Yep. Best presidential beard.
Best presidential beard, and without a beard, not a bad. Yeah, he wasn't a bad looking guy.
No.
Look at the young picture of him. Kind of like a... He had like a Trent Reznor-ish vibe in that one young picture. It looks like a photo that Trent Reznor took and tried to make it look like old.
Yeah.
But it's actually just Rutherford Hayes.
Cool.
And that beard, I think, yeah, the best of presidential beards. Rutherford Beard Hayes.
Then you got John F. Kennedy.
Well, yeah.
Pretty, the results that he got in terms of women just throwing themselves at him.
Well, and
speak for themselves.
Could you blame him? I mean, despite his problems and stuff, you look at the videos of him, like, swimming and stuff, he's cut. He knows he's good looking.
Yep. Well,
it's a Kennedy win.
Yep, he's definitely going to take this category. We're going to draw another 5-card hand and see. First off, we're going to go with the category military accomplishments. Don't really have... Well, I'm going to go...
I made a quick draw on that one, Jim.
I'm going George H.W. Bush.
Well, that would hold a lot of merit if it wasn't that I was playing William Henry Harrison.
Wow. Well, George H.W. Bush...
A hero.
Served in World War II.
Yeah.
Shot down in the Pacific Theater. And then as president, pretty lightning fast win in the Gulf War.
That's right.
Didn't get bogged down there like his son did.
Yeah, he's strong here.
Mm-hmm.
He's a strong card in this. But William Henry Harrison, pretty much lifelong.
Yeah.
Military. I mean, and he had, he was in on the political end of it, but I think he's most famous as a general.
Yeah. Yes, served with distinction as a young officer.
That's right.
In the Indian Wars, and then winning them finally.
Yeah.
Defeating the great Tecumseh.
Yeah.
Becoming a military hero.
I wouldn't mind seeing that one go the other way.
Well,
but that's beside the point.
Well, it's because Tecumseh's British allies were going the other way in the battle, running away.
Yep.
Leaving.
That's it.
As has pretty much always happened when the Indians ally with one or other side in an American war, get betrayed by their allies in the end.
The evil British.
Yep.
But I think in this case, I think it's
the hero. Yep, the hero of Tippecanoe in the Battle of the Thames.
Yeah. Not to knock George Bush, man. I think, the guy's a hero.
Yep. Next category, we're going speeches and writings. I've got a few options to choose from here. I'm going Thomas Jefferson.
I just threw away a great card with James K. Polk.
No.
He seemed the best choice, but Polk was known as a great speaker.
Napoleon of the Stump.
Napoleon of the Stump. I mean, his oratory was powerful. He was a good speaker.
Yep,
and he has probably the best presidential diary out there for your perusal.
Yeah, the most extensive in terms of, the presidency.
And insight into it. And if you want presidential insight, you want it to be from somebody like Polk that, really ran shit. To see where he's coming from as he makes all these monumental decisions, it's a fantastic read. But Thomas Jefferson, not so much for speaking.
No,
by any stretch, but his writings are so monumental.
Yeah, he wrote this even before the Revolution, the Summary View of the Rights of British America,
That's right.
establishing or arguing that Parliament has no authority over the colonies, that they're under the king, not Parliament.
Pretty huge work.
And then that work, well received, helped him get appointed to the job of writing the Declaration of Independence.
Yeah.
Probably the top single piece of writing by a president.
Agreed. I mean, and then you got like bonus like stuff like he wrote the Morals of Jesus.
Yeah.
Where he went through and in 4 different languages edited the 4 Gospels of the New Testament together into one single storyline, omitting anything supernatural.
Yeah.
What a fantastic undertaking.
Mm-hmm. He wrote the Notes on the State of Virginia, a book-length work.
Yeah.
It was pretty well received.
The Declaration of Independence.
Yeah. That's pretty much all you gotta say to win this category.
Yeah, I think so. And there goes my polk card.
Well,
Ooh. Is that right? That's your win stack over there?
yeah. Yeah, well, we're humming through this game.
Indeed.
Next category. First Lady Looks. I got Nancy Reagan.
I'm going with Laura Bush.
Well, Laura Bush, these are 2 good-looking first ladies.
Mm-hmm.
Let's turn to the definitive source in this category, Google image search.
That's right. Not a sponsor.
Nope. Although Google, you can throw some money our way. You know, young Nancy Reagan, obviously a Hollywood actress.
Yeah, she was in films and such. A real dish, as they would say.
Yep, pretty good looking. I mean, Reagan, one of the older presidents, and
That's
Nancy
right. Yeah.
on the older side by the time she's first lady.
stylistically, you got a big gap between Nancy Reagan and Laura Bush. I think both looked great for their times.
Yep. I don't know.
That's a close one.
I kind of... Yeah, it's really close.
I'd probably lean towards Nancy Reagan. Just because, I don't know.
Yeah.
The actress, the Hollywood allure.
Yeah,
I don't know. Although she
if
was,
you're...
as
Yeah.
First Lady, she was rather clumsy.
Mhm.
She was a bit clumsy. And a bit...
Well, she was on the top 5 troubled first ladies list.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, she's
I don't know.
just
Maybe
got a lot...
Maybe I would go Laura Bush here.
Yeah, I mean, Nancy Reagan, if you look her up, she has a lot more, like, glamorous photos of her when
Naturally.
she's young because she's a movie star, but...
Yeah.
Just
I don't know if based on that one photo, I don't think there was anything keeping Laura Bush from being in Hollywood. I don't know.
Well, she's more into
Let's
being
give-
a librarian.
give
That's
it
what
to
I was
Laura
going to
Bush.
say. I would personally prefer Laura Bush.
Let's give it to Laura Bush.
So,
Moving on. We got, back to back. We got First Lady accomplishments here.
well,
Shit.
I'm gonna choose.
But basically, both of mine didn't have one,
Yeah.
more or less. Well, one completely didn't.
Well-
One,
Well, then, which of those cards do you want to save for the next hand?
all right.
That's probably the strategic move. I'm going with Florence Harding, another one of our top 5 troubled first ladies.
Yeah, and
But
keeping with that run, I got Jane Pierce.
Yeah. we. Well,
All right, so Jane Pierce, first White House Christmas tree. installed. That's from a newspaper report from, it would have been 55.
Mm-hmm.
I can't remember. But yeah, Jane Pierce gets credit for that. But other than that, she was out there.
Yeah,
Florence Harding, also out there. She may have successfully murdered her husband and gotten away with it. I mean, that's a pretty huge accomplishment, especially for the wife of a president.
Yeah, that's the rumor there. But she was also, like, very active as a first lady. Yeah. She was crazy, and her and Warren Harding, like, both, like, very, like, had a very weird and crazy relationship. But Florence was super into being first lady.
Oh, yeah, old Flossie loved it.
And
Jane? No.
I mean, and, yeah, Florence probably, you know, she... When Warren had the Marion Star, she claimed to be the brains behind the paper and probably saw herself as the brains behind the president as well.
Well,
it's Warren Harding.
Notoriously needed aid in the brain department.
Yeah. And, Florence was, like, super active as First Lady. So while she also, like Nancy, consulting clairvoyance and worried about her husband dying as president.
Yeah.
Was also very involved.
Yeah.
So she's going to beat Jane
Pierce. Am I going to get involved in this project? Well, let me look to the stars.
Yeah. Go.
Last of this round.
Biggest partier.
Ouch.
Going to Teddy Roosevelt.
I got Martin Van Buren.
Well,
I think Van Buren definitely did his share of backslapping and backroom wheeling and dealing.
Yeah.
I think he could get out there and work, but I think it was more of a political end, and as opposed to I'm going to go get fucked up with the boys.
Yeah, well, Teddy Roosevelt, we had him in this category, too. He wasn't going and getting fucked up with the boys, either.
No, not too much. I think early on,
drinker.
him and Grover Cleveland, like, had their little stint of nights on the town, but...
Well, from I recall that Teddy Roosevelt, he got drunk once when he was in college and decided he did not like that and never got drunk again after that.
Yeah.
So...
Neither of these guys huge partiers.
Not in the, like, classic sense.
Yeah.
Yeah. Neither of them would be competing with, like, say, George W. Bush in this category.
That's right.
Both much more, like, controlled.
Yeah.
And focused on their work. TR's idea of partying is like going out hunting and shit.
Yeah. I'm sure Van Buren liked to have nice dinners. He enjoyed fine wine and good food and all that stuff, but not necessarily partying.
Van Buren, according to the Complete Book of U.S. Presidents, Van Buren took wine regularly with meals.
Oh, yeah.
And he gambled modestly, usually on the outcome of elections.
That's interesting, considering he helped to, control which way it might have been going.
Yeah. That'd be fun. Put down a big bet with old MVB on the outcome of an election.
Yeah. I'm sure there were times he was unpleasantly surprised, but...
Yeah.
I don't know. This is a tough one, man. I guess in terms of opulence, I'd go Van Buren. I think his are going to be more fancy.
Yeah.
Roosevelt's might be more like, hey, here come two of the Roosevelt kids with a cow walking through. Or something, I don't know.
Yeah, party with Alice Roosevelt, but not her dad so much.
Yeah. Yeah. You want to go MVB?
Yeah, it's a close call, but we can give it to MVB there. We're going to draw new 5-card hands. we'll see who we've got to put up in the category of foreign policy. I'm going to go Woodrow Wilson.
I went William McKinley. Now, these are pretty close together, and both had a pretty effective foreign policy. Although Wilson's League of Nations didn't quite work out the way he wanted it to.
Yeah. Yeah, Wilson successfully keeping us out of World War One.
Yeah.
For most of it. Getting in there towards the end where we can help turn the tide but not suffer the huge amount of casualties that the European powers had been suffering for years.
Right.
So that was pretty effective. But then, you know, his role in the peace negotiations, like he came over there with his 14 points. He proposed the League of Nations that the U.S. did not want to join.
Yeah.
And the peace settlement that ended World War One in general, a pretty huge disaster that led to World War Two.
Yeah, and in the end, it certainly did. McKinley, I mean, you had the Spanish-American War going on. That reached a, from the American standpoint, a successful conclusion. Pretty much putting us on the world stage.
Yeah.
This is empire. We're in it now.
Mm-hmm.
And that, it's pretty big in and of itself.
Yeah. I mean, and also, well, the annexation of Hawaii, that's kind of a foreign policy thing.
Yeah, that's true.
Becomes domestic policy by taking on Hawaii. McKinley also had the open door policy with China.
I don't know. Part of me leans toward McKinley because I think there's a little bit of back and forth with Wilson. It's a little more wishy-washy.
Yeah, I feel like I'd probably want to give this category to McKinley. McKinley's going to take that one. Next category is relationship with Congress. I'm going to choose Calvin Coolidge.
Going equally, kind of ambivalent, Chester Arthur.
Well, these are guys who had pretty good relationships with Congress, I think.
Yeah.
Same, in there during a same party Congress.
Mm-hmm.
So they both had Republican Congresses. During Coolidge's term, they passed the Immigration Act. There were tax reductions, veterans bonus, all passed. The Air Commerce Act. And then you got McKinley vetoing farm relief bills.
You mean Arthur?
Coolidge, sorry.
Oh, Coolidge.
Yeah, he had some vetoes there. Which, let's see, he vetoed farm relief bills on the grounds that they were price fixing. But it looks like he, successfully vetoed them.
Yeah.
Imposed his will upon Congress.
Yeah, Arthur was able to, at least attempt to veto some things. And I think his biggest thing is work with patronage.
Yep.
Civil service reform.
Yeah, the Pendleton Act, 1883. Yeah, Chester Arthur, yeah, he's got a pretty nice roster of legislation as well. The Chinese Exclusion Act, the Rivers and Harbors Act, and $19 million internal improvement bill. And then tariffs were cut as well.
Yeah, and Arthur also, to his credit, able to get some much needed funding to rebuild the United States Navy. Now, we just talked about McKinley before. You might not have had that war had it not been for Arthur getting our Navy in shape.
Mm-hmm.
That helped. That's definitely to his credit. I think both of these guys actually got along with Congress pretty well.
Yeah, it's a tough call.
It is. Coolidge of the mindset, it's more important to kind of keep bad shit from happening than it is to try and do a bunch of stuff.
Yeah.
Arthur, the stuff that he did, I think, pretty good. It's, this is a close one.
Yeah, I don't know.
Draw?
This kind of feels like a draw to me.
I'm thinking draw.
It's real close.
Let's put these cards on the line. And we got the economy.
Well. Well.
I'm going to take a gamble.
I guess I'm going to take a gamble as well. I'm going to go with James A. Garfield.
Okay.
And
And strictly restricting this to his presidency, I'm going to go with Jackson. I'm leaning towards Garfield. I mean, that kind of run of presidents after the depressions that happened during the Grant administration
yeah.
saw a recovery and then some kind of like, pretty decent times.
Yeah.
That would last until Cleveland's second term, really. So things are looking pretty good.
Yeah, Garfield, yeah, he was only in there pretty briefly. Didn't really have time to do much. Not particularly the economy, but yeah, in there during good times.
And of course, with Jackson, things aren't bad, but there's a lot of speculation and a lot of fear. And of course, the way things end up is quite bad.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, the economy was really great through most of his presidency.
Yeah.
And then, of course, the Panic of 1837 coming weeks after he leaves office.
2 weeks.
You can't really, blame that specifically on Jackson. The, killing of the Bank of the United States didn't really help with that. Was probably contributed to it.
Yeah.
But there was, a huge land speculation bubble that had been blown up for years that something needed to, given the number of panics that keep happening over and over again that we're finding in the history, there was going to have to be something.
Well,
regardless.
let's say that during Jackson's time, it was a much more frenetic economy than at James Garfield. We had the depressions when Grant was president. We're on the recovery, and even, well, I don't think Garfield quite got to see it, but we start to get into an economic upswing.
Yeah.
And, things ain't looking too bad. And then in Cleveland's second term, we get hit hard.
Yeah.
I'm leaning towards Garfield here. But the brevity of it is one thing, but at the same time, was economically more stable. I think the speculation during Jackson's time had stuff, maybe up and down all around.
Yeah, and he does get, at least some responsibility with his banking policy.
Yeah.
Not like, Van Buren and then ultimately Polk put the independent treasury in place that, was kind of the necessary second step to Jackson's banking policy that he himself did not have.
Right.
Until his successor.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I guess we can give this one to Garfield.
Big win for James J. Hamilton.
We're coming down to the nitty gritty. We've got which president would you most like to meet?
Okay.
Out of these choices, I'm going to meet Gerald Ford.
I got JQA. Now, for me personally, you picking Ford is tough because I'm, as usual, I'm decked out in Michigan garb. Go blue, hail to the victors, bleed blue and maize for the rest of my days. I'd have a great time hanging out with Gerald Ford. I think he's known to be a good man.
Yeah.
I think you'd have a really nice discussion. We could watch some Michigan football.
Yeah.
I think it'd be a great time.
If you could hang out with Betty Ford pre-sobriety.
Yeah.
That could be fun.
JQA is a legit genius.
Yeah.
And I think that the conversation would be just, he is a very, very intriguing person.
Yeah,
The more I read about him, the more I want to learn. He's that kind of guy. Mm-hmm. He's got a lot of stuff going on.
Yeah, he's been all over the world. I'll tell you about hanging out with the Tsar. And,
he's a man that should have been one of our best presidents.
No. He's one of our most highly qualified to be president.
Indeed. And I think,
Yeah, he's just, a really fascinating guy.
Yeah.
Writing poetry.
Just his library. He could give you a tour of that library.
Mm-hmm.
And discussion aside, that would be... Yeah, I gotta go JQA.
I agree with that.
Down to the last of this draw.
We're going domestic policy, and I unfortunately am stuck with Herbert Hoover in this category.
I have Barack Obama.
Well,
now, unfortunately, James, any knocking of Obama that we could do here, and there's room for some. We're objective.
mm,
There's room for some knocking there. It's not going to be able to bring Herbert Hoover up here,
no.
unfortunately.
Yeah, Herbert Hoover probably one of the worst
Yeah.
guys to have here.
Yeah, really bad. You don't blame Coolidge, you don't blame Hoover in terms of the Great Depression. I think you blame just Wall Street speculation and not pumping the brakes.
Yeah.
Too much of a good thing. Hoover is, of course, going to get the blame for it, but I don't know that he deserves blame for starting it so much as he deserves blame for making it much worse. And, in addition to that, we've talked about it before on the show. The Veterans Bonus March is one seriously dark blot.
Yeah.
Not a good look.
Yeah, Hoover having, the Army under MacArthur scattering the veterans who are marching for their
you're talking
bonus.
Veterans of the Great War getting gassed again. People got hurt. Women and children got hurt. It was bad.
Yeah. It was pretty bad. Obama passing the Affordable Care Act helped get some health insurance for a lot of people, although it did cost more than they would say. And also, in subsequent years when Democrats are running, wanting additional health care reforms, saying that, the new plan they're proposing is going to fix X, Y, and Z, which X, Y, and Z is what was claimed that Obamacare was going to fix.
Yeah.
But it was something. And then they passed the huge stimulus act of 2009, pouring a bunch of money in. He came in at a bad time for the economy, and we didn't necessarily bounce back quickly to huge heights.
Yeah.
It was all right.
I think it's enough to beat Herbert Hoover.
Definitely. Yeah, it wouldn't take much. Yeah, Obama was different. Wall Street reforms, environmental reforms, educational reforms.
Yeah.
He's not one of the top presidents, but he's no Herbert Hoover in terms of ignominy in this category.
Yeah.
And that will bring us to the final two cards.
Final two.
We will now have...
Listeners, can you guess who's left?
Yeah. If you've been paying close attention to the game, you know exactly which 4 cards are left.
And who could have whom.
And also which 2 categories must be left. One of them being who would win in a fight. And I think it's pretty clear among my 2 who I have to go with.
I have a necessary choice.
I'm going William Howard Taft.
And I'm going Benjamin Harrison.
Ooh.
I think I might be a Slobberknocker, to be honest. I don't know. Taft is a big man.
Taft is a huge man, weighing in at, 350?
But Harrison had himself a paunch. Harrison not unfit. He's a veteran.
I'm trying to look up what Harrison weighs in at here.
He's on the hefty side.
Well, Harrison 5'6". They're not saying his weight, but a stocky figure.
Yeah. He was
tough, short, stubby legs.
He was like a pit bull.
Where is
I don't know, Big Taft, I think.
Yeah, Taft.
Harrison's stubby legs might not be quick enough to get him away from one of the devastating blows of William Howard Taft. I see this fight going Taft's way.
Yeah, you think?
I think Harrison could be a scrapper, but I don't think he's going to have the speed that would be required to beat Taft.
Yeah.
If you're going to try and go toe to toe, which is I think what Harrison would have to do. He's more of a toe to toe man. He doesn't got that speed. He's going to come at you and throw blows. And he's just not going to eke out Taft here.
Yeah, Taft has got, 8 inches of height on Harrison.
That's right.
So it's going to be a huge reach advantage.
Yeah.
And then just size-wise.
Harrison could be quicker, but I don't think he's going to be quick enough.
Yeah.
Because Harrison himself, he's got a paunch, stocky.
Yeah, smaller
legs.
man. Yeah, smaller man's going to have to be quick and agile and have good stamina to wear Taft out.
That's right. Yeah, Harrison. I don't think
gonna...
he's going to be able to do it. I think Taft might be able to grab him by the goatee and give him a thunderous right hand.
Mm-hmm.
Bounce off the ropes and give him the Taft splash. He calls it the Filipino wave. It's his signature move.
Yeah.
Just a massive splash off the ropes. And that's the end of Ben Harrison.
Yeah.
This is going to be William Howard Taft's hand.
He's the heavyweight champion of this category.
Indeed.
In this game. And then we're down to the final category, which is strength of presidential appointments.
And I'm rocking FDR.
Ooh. I'm rocking James Madison.
Oof.
Well,
boy.
James Madison, he's got, well, that's the thing with his appointments. First round, not all that great. and he got saddled with Robert Smith, the Secretary of State, because his brother Sam Smith was a powerful senator. Madison considered Robert Smith to be incompetent and felt like he had to do the Secretary of State work himself. He wanted Albert Gallatin to be Secretary of State, but too many people in Congress hated Gallatin.
Yeah.
And he wouldn't have been confirmed, so he kept Gallatin in Treasury, which was a great guy to have there. And then his early war secretaries, particularly John Armstrong, not doing a great job during the war. But then he got James Monroe to act as war secretary and got James Monroe in as Secretary of State. And, some unsuccessful generals at the beginning of the war, but then you get, like, Andy Jackson in there at the right time.
Yeah.
Get William Henry Harrison. And then, Madison also appointed Joseph Story to the Supreme Court, one of the legendary Supreme Court justices. So that's pretty good.
Yeah, FDR, 12 years worth of people. And you pretty much got a mix. I mean, there's, when you're talking over a decade, I mean, you got a lot going on.
Well, I mean, he had a lot of, ended up being pretty successful in World War II.
That's right.
He had Cordell Hull in the State Department doing some pretty huge things with, before the war with Lend-Lease. And I'm seeing here Cordell Hull won the Nobel Peace Prize in 1945.
Huh.
That's pretty big. And then Henry Stimson, the war secretary.
Big time player.
A former, he was a Republican, served in the Taft and Hoover administrations. And then, so that's a good reaching across the aisle move.
Yeah, that's one thing about Roosevelt that I didn't realize so much before we started really diving into research is, like, he's willing to work across the aisle in this case, and as we talked about in the Franklin Pierce episode with Wendell Willkie, the guy he ran against.
Yeah.
He's willing to give him a major appointment.
Yeah, to go do some diplomacy.
It's pretty huge.
His appointments, in a sense, you could, not really an appointment, but getting Harry Truman as vice president.
Not a bad call.
Ended up being a good call.
If you factor in, like, I don't know, just during the war.
Yeah. Yeah, all the generals.
Ike and MacArthur and Patton.
Yeah, in the big picture, the generals and commanders did a great job.
Yeah.
And FDR, the buck stopped with him in terms of who was in command.
Yeah.
FDR also named the first woman cabinet officer, Frances Perkins, to the Department of Labor, who served all of FDR's presidency.
Oh, wow.
And into the Truman administration, Frances Perkins.
Big deal.
Instrumental in establishing the Social Security system and the Fair Labor Standards Act.
You got some strong appointments on both sides here. This is a tough one.
Yeah. I'll probably give it to FDR.
I'm leaning that way. Madison, pretty notoriously had some issues early on.
Yeah. Yeah, he kind of turned it around. But
he did, but I don't think FDR had any such issue to begin with. I think he did pretty well throughout.
Yeah.
And I mean, for the length of his tenure, it's no small undertaking.
Mm-hmm.
I think. If you agree, we'll give this to FDR.
Yeah. Just also FDR in Supreme Court appointments. He had 9 appointments.
Huge.
Including Hugo Black and Robert Jackson. Those are two of the better Supreme Court justices. Also, Harlan Fiske Stone, William O. Douglas. A lot of appointments in 12 years. Most of them pretty good.
Yeah. Going to FDR. And that's going to bring us to the card count. Back, and in only the second instance in the history of presidential war, we got a draw.
Yep. We're going to have to go down to sudden death overtime.
That's right. And we've decided we'll draw 3 cards.
We're going to go one category. We're going to get a 3-card hand to choose from in that category. The category is going to be who would win in a fight. This game is going to come down to a bare-knuckle brawl.
That's right. I got a really tough decision on my hands.
Well, I know who I'm going with. William Howard Taft is coming in for another round of fighting.
Oh, no. He's going up against George W.
Ooh.
Bush. He might be coked up. He might be buzzed. The boys are buzzing. George W. Bush, he's amped. He's ready to step into the ring against big William Howard Taft. Now, in all seriousness, though, George W. has some athletic background.
Yeah, he does have some speed and a great runner as president. I think when we did the top 5 athletic presidents, he was kind of somebody who I would have considered in the top 10 most athletic presidents. Yeah. Running I don't know about every day, but very regularly as president, considered himself one of the best in shape as president. And he's somebody who might be able to outlast Taft.
I think he could outlast Taft. I think that, yeah, George W. Bush isn't somebody I'd want to tangle with in his prime. You know?
Yeah,
he's not badly built.
No.
He. And he could get rowdy.
Mm-hmm.
I think
he's probably getting in fights as a cheerleader.
Yeah, I wouldn't doubt
at
it.
Yale, tearing down the
goalpost.
Let's see, he was 6 feet tall, 192 pounds, athletic build, ran several miles a day, 5 days a week.
Oof.
President.
He is going to have the cardio to outlast Taft. Yeah. Definitely.
Exercised regularly since 1972. Excellent cardiovascular fitness. Yep.
I think beyond a shadow of a doubt, this one's going to George W. Bush.
Yeah, especially if Taft, he's tired out from putting the beating on Benjamin Harrison.
Yeah. We go Bush. And the victory goes to Stephen Lincoln Douglas. And let me tell you something. James J. Hamilton, he come in here. He ain't got no style. He ain't got no class. He ain't got no game. He ain't got no wit. He clumsy. He dressed like a knucklehead. And I'm a bad man.
Can't argue with that.
That brings us to... Oh, Christ. And that brings us to the end of another exciting installment of Presidential War. You've been listening to the Dead Presidents Podcast. Join us next time.
Thank you.